Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about the need to build community and to provide support for one another in academia. And I saw this image that's now on your screen. This person had, I guess, tweeted this out. She wrote, "I wrote my dissertation with joy plus sanity intact because my local cafe held me in life-affirming community. They protected my space where I wrote 6x per week. So many regulars cheered me on. An older patron once whispered, 'You're a genius.' I'm not," in my ear and shared poetry. This prompted me to write a fairly extensive post on Facebook in response to this. So I'm going to start by reading what I had written. And then I got a few comments in response from various people that I know at different places in their academic careers. And I want to share what they wrote as well, because again, one of the things we want to be thinking about here is building community. So what I wrote is this. I think there's a problem in academia, which is partly based in an old romantic notion of the solitary genius and partially based on academia's gatekeeping function, especially at higher levels like graduate school. We could do more to provide support for one another, whether we're grad students or senior scholars. This doesn't have to be big things, but the more we can build community across the board, the more we can help fight burnout and depression. Because the gods know that university administrations do little enough to make our lives easier. And while this is important at all levels, it probably matters most with graduate students. There are so many stories out there of grad students burning out, feeling isolated, especially while writing dissertations, post-classwork, feeling that their work is subject to relentless critique and rarely praise, etc., etc. Grad students are less likely to have strong community ties than faculty who have lived in an area for a long time, and grad students are more likely to feel under constant pressure to perform. And these can be psychologically devastating forces. Contingent faculty, like myself, are another group likely to feel these pressures. We are, almost always, overworked and underpaid without long-term stability. In some institutions, like Penn State, where I work, our continued employment is subject to positive student evaluations, but at the same time we must balance the need for good evals against the university's imperative not to inflate grades. And these can feel like contradictory objectives, because no matter what some people say, students who get better grades give better evals. And yes, I have been told that evals and grades are unconnected. And if you believe that, I've got a nice seafront property in Nebraska to sell you. Further, because we're often overworked, few of us have much time for our own scholarship, creative writing, or other professional and personal activities. In my 6 years at Penn State, I've seen so many dedicated and talented people burn out and leave, often leaving teaching altogether because of the working conditions contingent faculty face. Some of us are in a better position than others to extend support, kindness, sympathy, etc. to colleagues and graduate students. Personally, I don't work with grad students because of my contingent position, but it's a worthwhile exercise to consider strategies for uplifting and connecting with one another at whatever level we're at. Personally, I find this kind of community building very difficult. I'm basically a misanthrope, and a large part of me would prefer being a hermit, with Andy, my partner, and Frank, my cat, of course. Within the micro community of my office, I do try and provide support and uplift from my office mates. But that's a micro community. Perhaps I can do more. Perhaps this semester I'll try stopping by people's offices just to say hello. So that's what I had written. And then in response, I got 3 comments. The first one from Mandy Passmore-Ott, who's my colleague. Here's Frank. He's joining in building the community, I guess. So Mandy is my colleague here at Penn State. She's also contingent, and actually because of her contract, she teaches a lot more than I do. But what she wrote is, "It's tough also for contingent faculty who commute long distances to campus. We miss out on building community because we aren't close enough to campus to regularly attend events or bonding activities." So that's a great addition, definitely. I mean, This is true as well for tenure track faculty who live further away from campus, but they have at least the benefit of greater stability. But definitely issues with commuting. And I'd also add that there are a lot of contingent faculty members at different schools who have to work at maybe 2 or 3 different universities in order to make ends meet. So that makes it even harder for those people to be part of any of those academic communities. The second comment that I got was from Jenny Kokai. Jenny is a professor she just started a new job recently. I don't remember where she just started her new job. University of South Florida. So what Jenny wrote is, in grad school, we had a most excellent dissertation writing group that we started. We used a process a dissertation coach taught us in a free session she gifted us because we couldn't afford her. We met every week, used the process, gave each other feedback on chapters, essays, articles, job materials. Eventually, I made everyone t-shirts. It was without question one of the best things about grad school. It wasn't really fostered by the faculty at our grad school in any way, but I don't know if it would have been so successful if it wasn't organic, and if it was an all-woman group in a faculty of highly famous folks studying feminist and queer theater, so that was abstract modeling of values. I think the thing I wish someone had made clear to me was that it's not true that you have to be good at everything. You can get feedback from peers on your own weaknesses, and you can give on your own strengths. You can show someone feedback you've gotten and let them dramaturg it and explain what is being asked for if you can't see the forest for the trees. And I think that's, again, an incredibly useful and insightful addition here, especially this idea that as a grad student, you don't need to know everything. And it often feels like that, right? I mean, one of the things that you see all the time in people talking about their graduate school experiences is imposter syndrome, right? This idea that, like, I don't know enough. I can't succeed at this because I'm not at the level that everybody else is. No, realistically, your grad school colleagues are probably closer to the level that you are than you think. They may just be better at faking it than you. So this is one of the things that I think is really, really important. The purpose of grad school is not to prove that you know enough to be to have a doctorate in your discipline. The purpose is to figure out what it takes to have a doctorate or a master's or an MFA or whatever it is. The purpose is to get to that point. But you're not expected to be at that point always. And even when, this is one of the things that I kind of learned when I finished my doctorate and went out into the wider world of academia. It doesn't change that much. Nobody expects that you just know everything about your field. This is why we go to conferences. This is why we have working groups. This is why we get peer feedback on our journal articles and things like this. Because it's not expected that we always know everything about everything. It's always a learning process, and you got to embrace that learning process. And I think graduate schools can, in many cases, do a better job encouraging students and showing students how to embrace that learning process. And then the third comment I've gotten last comment I've gotten as of time of filming is from Ryan Claycomb, my dissertation advisor and mentor. And he quoted a piece that I wrote. He said, yes, this is a documented, he quoted the bit that I wrote about resisting burnout and depression. And he wrote, yes, this is a documented phenomenon. When we build community and commiserate or co-celebrate, we help underscore for one another where we do have agency, where we can make choices, and how we find options. Burnout is largely, though not entirely, a result of diminished choices and diminished hope about those choices. But community at its best helps us see our choices and the power we have to make them. And this is, I mean, again, this is built out of something that I had said, but I didn't elaborate on it the way that Ryan has here. And this, I think, is really, really important. So much of academic culture right now is built around issues of burnout and issues of depression and anxiety, and it shouldn't be. This is a bad approach to the thing that we do, and much of it is a result of neoliberalization of higher education that is approaching universities as though they are profit-making ventures, shifting work from dedicated administrative staff, not administrators, not vice presidents and provosts and things who get paid often massive amounts of money and produce relatively little value for the university, but people like department secretaries and things like this, administrative assistants, people who actually do a massive amount of labor that's often underappreciated, but shifting work from them to the professoriate and creating administrative labor for the professoriate while undercutting faculty governance and things like that. This puts additional pressure, creates additional labor for people in the professoriate, which is often uncompensated. All of these sets of conditions, it's been said before and it'll be said again, and I think it's a very accurate thing, that academia right now functions like an abusive relationship. What we as people within, sort of shared within that abusive relationship, can do about it in the short term is to try and help one another. Long term, we should be organizing, we should be striving for better working conditions, etc., etc. But short term, we can try and help one another and provide support for one another.